Warning, the following podcast contains spoilers, so if you don't want to know that Norman Bates' mother is really dead and that he's impersonating his mother, stop listening now.
The International House of Horror.
Hello everyone and welcome to the International House of Horror podcast, a low-budget podcast for low-budget horror movies. I'm your host, the MadPancaker, and across the table from me is my Steve, Scary Perry.
Hello, MadPancaker. How are you?
Did you like that in-joke reference? Might be a new running gag for us.
Okay, Steve.
So, how have you been, Scary Perry?
I'm doing well.
Doing well?
You doing good?
Watch any interesting horror movies lately?
Yeah, My Girl.
My Girl?
Yeah. Those bees and Macaulay Culkin. That's a horror movie, for sure.
You going with that? I watched Vamp. That was pretty good. Hadn't watched that before, so it's been on my list, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we dive into today's topic, I do want to add, and I'll probably put this in the description because the first episode hasn't been released yet, but I'll put it in the description. I meant that Greg Nicotero et al. Worked on Day of the Dead, not Dawn of the Dead. I'm sure every horror fan and geek out there was like, no, they actually worked on Day of the Dead, not Dawn of the Dead. I apologize for that. Again, no research beforehand, just kind of dove into it. It is what it is, so. But I looked it up after the fact because I wasn't 100% sure if I was wrong in Dawn of the Dead, so ignore that part of the previous podcast. Anyways, so today we are talking about is it 1984?
1984.
1984.
Knocking
film.
on Your Door.
Knocking on Your Door.
We Let It In?
Are we doing, what movie are you doing there?
No, that's a song by the band, psychedelic band Spirit.
Oh, okay.
All
right. Anyway, so we got a 1984 film we're reviewing today. It's got definitely a bit of a cult film following and a pop culture reference in many different things. We have the film C.H.U.D. And what does C.H.U.D stand for?
It has 100 different meanings.
100 different meanings.
Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. Or dweller.
Indeed. Or so the movie has you believe to start. So this film was directed by Douglas Cheek. Has he done anything else?
I don't believe so. I looked it up. I don't think this guy's done. I think this guy's a one and done kind of deal, or just one movie.
This is his most well-known film, and everything else was eh.
He probably did a commercial or something.
But it stars Daniel Stern of Home Alone fame, one half of the Wet Bandits.
Yeah.
I forget. I don't even remember their names in that movie. I just always know them as Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci.
He was Marv.
Marv, that's the guy's name. I remember Marv's name. I don't know what's the other guy's name.
Pesci.
Joe
now you're gonna give my tongue. I don't know.
All right, don't worry about it. It's not important. And then we have another Home Alone alumni with John Hurd.
Mr. McAllister.
That's right, Mr. McAllister. Are we going to bet 3 for 3 on actors and actresses from Home Alone? I don't think so. I don't know if anybody else was in Home Alone in this film. I doubt it. But we have Kim Greist. Is that how you say her name? Greist? I think she's been in some things. I have no idea though. So, and Christopher Curry. Again, no idea who that guy is. I don't know all my secondary.
I'm sure these people were in.
Secondary supporting role actors and actresses. I'm not too familiar with that. And then I put one more on here as a list just because I don't know if anybody else. Well, there's one later. We'll allude to later on in the movie. I'll allude to that cameo later. But we got Cordis Hurd was in this movie. Has any relation to John Hurd?
I don't think so. But I could.
You're letting me down over there, Scary Perry. You're supposed to know this stuff. You're supposed to be the one that does the research.
Hurd.
Yeah, I saw in the credits there's a Cordis Hurd. I'm like, 2 Hurds in one movie? Coincidence?
He's like not even a top billed guy. I don't know. Coincidence? Non-coincidence?
You haven't found anything?
I have to look now.
Oh no, jeez.
I always like to
you let me down. You're the one who checks the Wikipedia, the IMDb, and you find all this stuff. I'm not making that up. There's a
You
Cordis
say
herd.
quarters herd.
Yeah, Cordis herd. Maybe I typed it wrong and
It's a she.
it's a she. That's what I thought. Is it wife?
I don't know. She was in Caddyshack. Does that
She
help?
was in Caddyshack. Not really.
You know, my fingers only type so fast.
Should have had this information beforehand.
She looks familiar, but I can't. It doesn't. There's no like information.
No information.
I
Maybe it'd be faster to check John Hurd. Or maybe it would just be faster to move on from this bit.
rest in peace, John Hurt.
Rest in peace indeed. Passed away this year, right?
I believe it was this year or last year. No, 2017.
17. Oh, geez, man. I was just so used to all these celebrities passing away that I just figured it was this year. Not too long ago, though. Only 4 years.
It doesn't say anything about Cordis being related
Nothing.
that I can find.
All right. Well, must not be important enough. Moving on. So, ready to dive into the Chudster?
We're going down into the sewers for this one.
Down into the sewers. Gonna be a lot of sewers and, oh boy, a lot of going places and going back to places and lots of dialogue. We open up, we got the credits, and it's got this kind of kicking 80s synth theme going on for a second.
Do you know who does the soundtrack of this?
No.
It was 2 members of OMD.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
OMD.
I'm not.
So we got a pretty and we got
orchestral maneuvers in the
yes,
dark.
I know what OMD stands for. I was about to say, is this in the Pretty in Pink John Hughes universe? Is there going to be a Chud crossover between Pretty? Maybe we can pitch that. We can pitch.
I think it should be now.
We can pitch Chud 3 Pretty in Pink. Chud 3 Pretty in Pink 2. Andrew McCarthy and Molly Ringwald have to fight off Chuds that invade their like high school reunion prom. Have you seen Pretty in Pink? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because they go to prom together.
Yeah, I've seen it,
Oh, okay. Maybe Harry Dean. Maybe we can get a Harry Dean Stanton looking Chud, like from Chud 2 Bud the Chud. Get a Harry Dean Stanton zombie. So for I think I like our sequel idea we're going off on here better than this actual movie. So in Chud 3 Pretty in Pink 2, we need a subtitle for this movie we're coming up with. What's a good subtitle? I would just say like Pretty in Red doesn't sound good. I'm trying to get like the bloody reference or
Monsters Ball. Oh wait.
Nah, maybe. Subtitle pending for Chud 3 Pretty in Pink 2. So do we go like original Chuds or do we go Chud 2 zombie Chuds and then get a Harry Dean Stanton Chud, and that's the thing, Harry Dean Stanton's back from the dead as a Chud because he plays Molly's father in that.
Too far down the rabbit hole. I think we need to digress a bit. Also, though, I read the Rolling Stone did a list somewhere of best horror movie soundtracks, and these guys were not. I don't know how many they did out of 20. I think it was like number 18 in what I read. I can't seem to find it. Right. Yeah,
because that was going to be my next comment before I went off on the Chud 3 Pretty in Pink 2 tangent. Was that. Enjoy this music because there's hardly any music in this film.
Best soundtrack.
Wow. Now, don't get me wrong. The parts of it, I like it. It's very 80s and synthy, but it's very rarely used. Like, only maybe a few stinger parts. The ending theme's pretty kicking.
More in the beginning,
And the end.
Yeah.
Towards the later part of the movie, there's some more music. But, like, holy hell, it's, like, devoid of music. And that works in some films, but I just feel like this film, for as slow paced as this film is, it could have used some music to liven things up here and there. Get used to the music in the opening, or not get used to it. Enjoy it while it lasts, because we're not going to have some music for a while. The opening, we have this lady who's walking her dog in the middle of New York City, and it doesn't really look like a particularly good part of New York City. Like, it's not very classy as it is, and we know from later on there's going to be bums and whatnot walking around. But she's just in the middle of the night, right in the middle of the street, walking her dog. And she doesn't look like, she belongs there anyway. She looks kind of maybe middle class, upper middle class, like definitely shouldn't be in this neighborhood. So what the hell she's doing walking her dog, and what happens next, she probably deserves it anyways. So we have this lady walking her dog down the middle of the street, And right away, we got kill number 1. So she stops by a manhole cover, and it opens up slowly, and you see this monster's hand come out, and it pulls her under along with the dog, and then closes. And then as it zooms out and centers on that manhole cover, we got our title card. It appears over the manhole cover, and then, like, pulls up and, like, gets bigger. It's, like, kind of weird how, like, the logo does that. It doesn't look wrong, it just is, like, I'm questioning the stylistic choice of why this is happening and why it couldn't have just been big to begin with. Anyways, so yeah, we got the title card, then we fade to black, and we got some more credits, and we got this street sweeper coming towards, because her shoe gets left behind by the C.H.U.D, because, the C.H.U.D's inconsiderate and it's just littering. And it's coming towards the shoe, so this is where the attack happened. And you see there's a bunch of bums on the street. And I don't know if you picked this up, but one of the bums that walks by quickly in this trench coat looked like Tim Thomerson. And I'm like, is this in the Transfers universe?
I did not see that.
I don't think it is Tim Thomerson, but it's like, man, that guy's got slicked back hair. He kind of looks a little like Tim Thomerson. I'm like, is Jack Death and C.H.U.D? Are we going to have C.H.U.D 3, Pretty in Pink 2, Transfers 7? Because I'm down for that movie. I think that'd be better than this movie. I'm going to shit on this movie a little bit, but we'll see what rating I give it in the end. Yeah, we got the Tim Thomerson bum. And so we got this guy who's taking photos from his camera of the bums, which I think he's getting their photos without their consent. I think that's a violation of privacy there, but that's neither here nor there. So he's taking photos from his apartment, and we find out because his phone rings, and he decides not to answer it, so it goes to the answering machine, and the recording says that you've reached the new residence of George Cooper and Lauren Daniels, with George Cooper being played by John Hurd, and Lauren Daniels being played by Kim Grist. We'll go with Grist. So, and it's his buddy Derek calling, and it's funny because he's answering Derek as he's being played on the answering machine there.
That's funny.
It was pretty funny. I want to know, does this Derek run? Because from what I've heard, Derek's never run. You don't get the reference, but one day we'll watch it, because it's definitely up this podcast alley. For those of you listening, I'm sure some of you get that reference, so if you do, let us know, and we'll get to that one sooner or later. Let me tell you, that movie, better than this movie. Heyo! Anyways, Derek is the J. Jonah Jameson. He wants his pictures of Spider-Man, or in this case, the hobos, for his article that he wants to put out for the newspaper. But he tells Lauren that, because Lauren asks who it is, that it's the wrong number. And she's all getting dressed and in her undies, and because they have a shoot coming up for some perfume, and I don't know why. And so this is this movie. This movie is a lot of just dialogue.
Yes, it is.
Very little chuds and a lot of dialogue. And there's a lot of this type of filler in there. But I find this one kind of funny because she has this pimple on her ass. And he's asking, why are you putting makeup on your ass? It's like, it's where the pimple is. She's asking about where her jewelry box is. And he says it's still in the basement with the other stuff. So, jewelry box in the basement. I wonder if that'll come up later. So anyways, she runs out and she runs into her... She runs out because to get to the basement, she has to leave the apartment because it's almost more like a duplex, because I think there's only like 2 people in there. There's her and George, and then the neighbor and her son.
Yeah, I believe in some versions of the film, they're not even in it. They don't show scenes with them in it.
Oh, they cut out? Because really, their parts don't even matter. I believe her name's Francie, and I don't know what the son is, but Lauren runs into them on the name of the basement because I guess they're subletting. I don't know if that's technically an apartment or not, but maybe a duplex, but they're subletting the room or whatever.
Yeah.
They go into the basement, and the light doesn't work. So all this is going to pay off later? Maybe half. Oh, jeez. So George gets another phone call from Derek, but he answers it this time. So... Jesus. Meanwhile, in basement, Lauren's looking through box. Here's some metal cover moving ever so slightly, but it doesn't actually open. And she finds the jewelry box and goes back upstairs. And as she goes back upstairs and she's out of earshot, there's one last noise after she's gone. Bum, bum, bum. And that's what this movie is. It's a big tease. Jeez. All right. So, back outside, Francine sees some boxes rustle. Francine being the neighbor, and she was going out. She moves towards them to look, and the boxes just go boom, flying everywhere. And she looks down in the ground, and she sees this whole like piece of cardboard chewed up, and then a hole in the pavement with blood around it. Ruh-roh, Raggy.
You think at that point she would scream?
Yeah, or do something. So
no, she doesn't.
Nope, nothing. So we cut. Yeah, I'd like to gut half of this film out and refilm it. We cut to the police station, and we got Chris Curry playing Detective Bosch.
I like this guy.
I do. I don't know how well acted his part is. It seems like, okay, it's down to earth, but it seems like, it's not hammy, but very, almost amateurish. But it does lend some legitimacy to the part, but I do like this guy for whatever reason. I feel like him and his banter with Daniel Stern make this movie.
Yeah.
It's the only thing holding this hodgepodge of random clips of close-ups of chuds together. So we're in the police station now. And he has an officer look into a new missing report case, and they're bickering back and forth about various missing persons cases. Missing reports case. I said missing reports earlier. Missing persons cases. And I wrote down this comment because they both have some rockin' mustaches. I would say better than Scary Perry's.
No.
Yes.
No.
Audience, all right. So, well, I don't know if we have any photos of Scary Perry up on any of our pages, but be sure to follow the MadPancaker on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check us out. Maybe I'll get a photo of him up there.
You can follow me on my OnlyFans. I'm just joking. I do not have OnlyFans.
The Scary Perry OnlyFans. Maybe we might get it set up. Maybe people want some of that sexy mustache over there. But we'll let you decide who's got the better mustache. Bosch calls up the chief on the phone because he's talking about, because I guess they're getting orders from higher up to cover up on these missing persons cases. Missing people cases? Yeah, whatever. And he tells him, hey, I can't keep covering up. Too many people are going missing. And you don't really find out till later, but Bosch isn't fully aware of why they're covering up. They're just been told to kind of turn a blind eye to everything. Yeah. But the chief tells him to keep following orders. Phone call ends. Bosch, he is on his way out, so he runs into Murphy, and Murphy is this freelance reporter who wants a tip for a hot scoop, get some inside information.
Murphy, this guy, he is the creepiest guy in this movie. I don't know why this guy is in this movie.
He kind of looks like a Walmart brand Roddy Piper from They Live, like with the scraggly hair, kind of like the mullet going on a little bit. I feel like his hair's too long in the front for a mullet.
He's totally useless in this movie.
So
I don't know.
Maybe I'll just call him Walmart brand Roddy Piper.
Creepy Murphy. I don't know.
Creepy Murphy. So Bosch isn't on his way out. He's actually going down to interview a person they have in custody. So, and that's his hot tip, is that he's going to interview a bag lady.
Oh, bag lady.
Who tried to steal an officer's gun over on the corner of Lafayette and Houston Street, I think was the name of the street. They don't reference it too much. They mainly focus on Lafayette anyway. So they want to know why she needed a gun, or why she wanted the officer's gun. And Bosch does make a comment about her getting a phone call, because everybody's entitled to, their one phone call. If there's one thing we've learned from TV and movies, you get one phone call. So, again, now we're going to cut to another place. So we cut to George, because George is photographer, so he's taking a photo shoot for this perfume ad. His wife's also the model in the ad, and she's naked. Tastefully naked. There's no, she's like covered up, but she's not wearing anything on underneath this blanket or whatever they got draped over her towel or whatever.
Furs. It's furs.
Furs. Okay. Go with this perfume ad. So we got all sorts of, animal cruelty going on there. We got the furs, we got the perfume that probably tested on animals or whatnot, or taken from animals. Get some ambergris or whatever,
Sex Panther.
Okay. So he's complaining, is this what it's going to be all day? Ass and tits and ass. I'm just like, ass and tits and ass. Sign me up. I'd take that all day long. Be better than what's going on in this movie.
He'd rather go take some pictures of bums.
So he gets worked up. He kind of causes this big scene, and then his wife helps him calm down because, obviously, so he wants to be doing like more high class photography type stuff, but this is kind of just a paycheck for him, and she wants him to do it for her. George makes a phone call to check the messages on his answering machine.
Okay, so I'm watching this, and he's calling it. He holds something up that looks like a Star Trek taser to the phone, and it makes like this humming noise for a second. It's like initiating the answering machine. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen this in my life. I mean, I know we're in the day of voicemails, but obviously we know what answering machines are. But I have no idea. It's like held this like square thing up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't even notice that. Maybe he was recording it so that way, you know, in case he had to go and walk around, like one of those handheld recorders.
This weird chiming noise. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe it was his passcode before he had one of those passcode things that people have to, you know, call up the random security code for
a freaking garage door opener to get to your voicemail. He like held it to the phone.
Like I want to know what number he called to get his answering machine to give him his recordings. Yeah. That's strange in and of itself. So I don't know. Answering machines were hot tech at the time.
I guess. Apparently, I don't even know about that.
I mean, that was pretty fancy. I don't think we had an answering machine until
on his phone.
The 90s. Yeah, so George makes a phone call to check his messages. So he's got one from Derek, who went ahead and wrote the article without him. See, Derek's do never run from a good story. But he tells him to send him the pictures anyways, because he still needs the pictures for the article. So then there's a doctor's call for Lauren, and then there's a call from who else but the bag lady, who uses her one phone call to call Mr. Cooper here. So, and it's funny because he's like, Cooper, you son of a bitch, you think I want to talk to some goddamn machine? He's chewing this guy out because he's not there to answer his phone.
I'll get back to this later.
Oh, you'll get back to it?
Yeah, I got something.
So he leaves the shoot, and Lauren's getting her makeup reapplied in between photos and whatnot, and she looks over and she just gets this lipstick because somebody's applying this lipstick to her, and it just gets smeared all over her face as she turns to look. I'm just like, what a jerk. Way to do to that guy. That guy's probably pissed now. He's like, really? You had to move on applying this to your face? Meanwhile, we cut back to Bosch at the PD, who's doing missing persons report about this A.J. Shepherd guy he busted 5 years ago. And so it's a bit confusing in the dialogue because I thought A.J. Shepherd was the missing guy, and it's not. A.J. Shepherd's just the guy who reported the missing person. And there's some banter between him and this, I don't know if this is the female officer that tells him that he's got this call. I don't think it is because I think this is at the reception. Yeah, because there's also this female officer that he keeps getting on her nerves, telling her to get me the chief or get me the commish. But it's not a report, then what is it? The only answer is it's a little strange. It's like, what? So we cut to bums at a soup kitchen. And they're being served by Daniel Stern, who is A.J. Shepherd. So I'll probably just be calling him Stern the whole time. And as I have to make a note every time we see a mustache, this guy also has a better mustache than Scary Perry's.
Nope.
You decide, people. You decide. So Bosch walks in, and he comes about the call AJ made to the police department about the missing person. And he's interrupted by a bum who gives Daniel Stern a flower and calls him Reverend. So apparently he goes by as a Reverend now. And Bosch asks if this is a new scam for him. Oh, and Bosch is a captain now since the last time he busted Stern. And there's just some pointless bickering and arguing going on. Bosch wants to know about the missing person. Stern kind of just says that a lot of his regulars are turning up missing. And his undergrounders, the name he gives to the bums that live underground, are mainly the ones missing. Because he has a hole in the wall in the cellar, and it leads down into the sewers. And that's where they all live, and all of them have been missing for 2 weeks. Only one he's seen, Val, who talks in like this gibberish, like prophetic type madman prophet talk. Like he's like a crazy guy who's like kind of close. Oh, I have it written down here, sorry. At least most of it. So Bosch goes over to interrogate this Val guy, and he asks why he left the underground, and he says, on each side of the throne, there are 4 living creatures filled with eyes in front and behind. So we know there's 4 CH.U.Ds, although there's probably realistically only 1 or 2 that are made up because of how probably shitty this budget was for the makeup effects. Bosch thinks talking about friends, but he's clearly talking about the CH.U.D. So he asks, are they still there? And Val says he knows his work, referring to Bosch. but says he acts alive, but is dead. And then he goes crazy and like stabs the table with this giant fucking knife and has, some crazy ramblings about the power to shut the sky that the government has or something or some nonsense like this. So yeah, this guy's whacked out of his gourd, but also semi-telling the truth or something like that. I don't know if like the sky is like the outside world from the sewers or whatnot. I'm thinking way too deep into this ramblings.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thinking way too hard here. Feel free to chime in whenever you want.
You're trying to decipher that. Another thing at this point, I mean, I know it's a different time here. So, do these police do stuff? Because, all right, a lady tries to take a gun out of a policeman's holster. Well, do that nowadays, you're going to get shot, probably.
Oh, yeah, that's like... I mean, unless you, like, really know the person or if they're just, like maybe if there's some context to that, like, she's just like, I need your gun, officer. I need it to protect me. And something like that.
She seems more like a klepto type.
Yeah, but and if like you're familiar with this bum and be like, whoa, lady, stop it. You can't take my gun type deal rather than just blasting her way. But not like, yeah, nowadays, like that person, yeah, that they're getting minimum like tased or something, And going for a lethal weapon probably could be justify use of lethal force. I'm not exactly sure how all that works, but
and then this guy semi-threatens a police captain by taking a giant knife and stabbing a table in front of him.
Yeah, I feel like that'd at least be some sort of like threatening an officer or possession of a deadly weapon type deal.
But I guess Stern warned him,
Right. Where I was at my notes here. Okay, so yeah, when I'm trying to figure out the crazy ramblings of some bum in this movie, that's where that tells you how much is going on in this movie, right?
Yes.
All right, so he flipped out. Where was I? Oh, he asked him where did he get a knife, and Stern tells his boss that all the undergrounders are looking for weapons, and he told him to be careful. Wink. So Bosch is leaving to go check in at the station. Of course, we cut back to the station, and the bag lady's getting ready to leave, and George came there to pick her up. And the cops kind of inquisitively ask him how he knows her. And so there's another detective on the phone, and he's on the phone with Bosch, who's making a phone call back to the station. They say, we got him, as in reference to the guy that she was calling. Mm-hmm. So George and the bag lady leave the station, and so Murphy's out there kind of camping out.
Creepy
Murphy, Walmart brand Rowdy Piper here.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace indeed. The bag lady tells Murphy to suck a duck. It's kind of like the peak entertainment in this movie is the dialogue, because Lord knows it ain't coming from the chuds.
Yep.
We get so Jackson, he's the detective on the phone with Bosch. He comes out and he tells Murphy he's busy despite having told Murphy there's nothing going on earlier. And the bag lady, so she tried to steal the gun for her brother, Victor, who they go and see in the sewer. And Victor just kind of asks if he has, when they get into the sewer, because she takes him through this winding path in the sewer.
Well, at this point, the one cop, he tails.
Yes, he's tailing them
when they go into the subway, down into the sewer.
Oh yeah, so the bag lady wanted to know if George had a gun, and if he didn't have a gun, if he had bandages. So yeah, they trail him to the subway, and then they kind of take the side path in the subway deeper into the catacombs.
And then the policeman sees him doing that, and he looks, and he's like, fuck this.
Yeah, because he takes a whiff and he's just like, oh man, that smell. He's like, screw it, I'll just say I lost him.
Yeah, he's like, I lost him.
Like, top officer there, doing his job. So we go into the subway catacombs, and finally we get some music, but it's like this high-pitched synth that's like hard on the ears. And I have to, like, everything on, because I think I watched this on Prime, everything on Prime, like, I have to crank up the volume a lot just to hear people talk.
Yeah, I did too.
On Xbox.
Yeah.
But like I had to turn it down because of like how high pitched this like synth whine was. I'm like, Jesus Christ, whose thought was that? I'm like, maybe we were better off with no music.
If you have a dog, probably don't watch this movie with it.
Yeah. So they're going through the sewers, they're going through this crevice. George gripes why they couldn't just live in a cardboard box like all the other bums. And as they're wandering through, there's this other guy who's chasing another guy, and they run off. Who knows what happens to them? Just some more random bums. So they finally get to Victor's little hidey hole type place, and they climb this ladder, and they're ambushed by Victor's buddy Hugo. But Bag Lady talks him down because he wants to attack George because they don't know who he is. But he says this is the guy who took your picture. And we find Victor lying there, and he's wounded and sick. And George asks why he needed a gun. To shoot them. Who's them? The ugly fuckers that come around here. Oh boy. And George, he wants to get him to the hospital, but he doesn't want to go. So George just patches him up with bandages. He's peeling back the old bandages, and it reveals this really nasty looking wound, which is probably one of the better practical effects in this film.
Yeah.
I think some of all the budget went to this one wound here, and maybe a few others later on. We cut back to Bosch at the station.
Hold on a sec here.
Oh, sure.
How does John Hurd's character, I understand he goes down there and takes pictures. He probably took like a day and took a picture of, Bag Lady and her brother. But like, I feel like there's like a deeper connection. Like, and like she has his phone number, like calling him.
He's been taking their photos for a while. Well, because the article was, I don't know, maybe it was about the plight of the bums.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's about bum fighting. Maybe there's bum fighting going down there.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he's obviously... at parts, it seems like she doesn't know him, and then parts like she knows him. I mean, like, obviously when she called him, like, get the fuck right out of the cops, or this police station, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe they're getting the undercover scoop on the bum fighting or something. I have no idea. I have a funny story about bum fighting. From one time in college. We were in like a speech class, and this girl was giving a speech about bum fights and whatnot. And I don't know if I just looked like nonchalant during her speech or like I just didn't care or whatever, but it was the last speech of the period, and I don't remember if we had buzzers and things to signal the period ending or whatnot in college. It's been so long, but it was the end of the period and everybody's wrapping up and getting ready to go. I just remember this one chick sitting next to me just like turned to me and said, "Do you do that?" And I'm like, "What, bum fights?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, it's like I'm the bum fight kingpin or something."
What?
And
I've never heard this.
Oh yeah. That's a real story that happened to me. I'm like, I guess I'm the bum fight kingpin.
Dress like a bum?
No, I don't know, like just because I was so nonchalant, like I didn't care. Like, yeah, I go and participate in these bum fights. Like I'm the bookie or something with my Italian Italian background. I'm like the bookkeeper mafioso running the bum fights or whatnot and fixing them or something. I have no idea, but I feel like that story, that few minutes of story there is a little more entertaining than the story going on here so far. Heyo!
Yep.
Watching the movie and seeing the bums that made me think of that story. Fun times. But yeah, so back at the police station, no, we're not even back at the police station. This is Bosch. He's telling Stern about George Cooper bailing out the Bag Lady and taking pictures for the article. Oh, because I think he has the newspaper with the pictures. So Derek must have got his pictures then for his article. Good for Derek. Good for Derek. Derek's never run from a good story. But he wants to know if he can ID any of the hobos. And Stern says, "Why don't you ask the photographer?" And Bosch is like, "I don't know whether I should talk to him or tail him." And this line, and this is one of a few Stern lines that I highlighted here that are just great. Stern says, "It's buck dancer's choice, my friend." And I'm just like, what? What is a buck dancer, and what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one, but it gave me a good chuckle. Stern says Bosch is running in and out of here like the fucking Mad Hatter. And doesn't know what he's looking for, and he's just making him nervous. Another good Stern line. It's not quote for quote, but most of it. And why does Bosch want to know who these people are? Because there are other people missing other than bums. Bum. So, Stern tells him, because it's kind of one of those, it's like, nobody cares if bums are going missing, but when real people start going missing, real people in quotes there, then the police care. I don't know if it's slight social commentary or whatever, but going for that jab there. But we got another classic Stern line here. He tells him, "It still doesn't wash, Bosch." And I'm just like, I think this guy, the only reason his name was Bosch was to make that one rhyme for the script.
I think Daniel Stern was doing drugs when he was making this movie?
Oh, I think he was getting ready for Home Alone. I think was what it was.
Oh, he's a good actor, but
For some over-the-top crazy acting. So the missing person complaint leads to a police captain coming down here twice in one day, is what Stern says, and he thinks it's fishy. And he's like, who are we missing? The mayor? The president? But no, it turns out it's Bosch's wife who is missing. Ooh, now Stern kind of looks like a dick. His wife is clearly the woman from the beginning who was out walking the dog. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck was this guy's wife doing out in the middle of the fucking night, walking the dog? I think...
They said they live like a couple blocks from that street.
Right. I'm just like...
does it get better?
Like, I think there's something more going on here with Bosch's wife, and we'll get to that. I think I got some more in the notes later on about that.
Here's a little fun fact. The actress that plays Bosch's wife is Daniel Stern's wife in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, this makes a little more sense now that I'm thinking about it, because that's what I was thinking. Yeah, she's out walking the dog, wink, wink, wink. Think she's screwing around behind Bosch's back is what she's really doing. Just using the walking the dog as cover. Anyway, so where are we at in the notes here again? Oh, hold on. Did I put that page away and I wasn't done with that page? Yeah, I wasn't done with that page. Jesus Christ. Too many pages of notes for this movie.
Really? I have like one.
It's probably all you really need. I probably need to cut down on like going bit through every part of the plot.
No, never.
Never? That's what the people want?
That's what
We'll see. If that's what you want, let us know. So yeah, Bosch lives a couple blocks over, as you said. So we got the bag lady. She's Mrs. Monroe. Victor is the brother, and then their buddy Hugo. So he IDs them from the photo and says that he's seen Cooper around, taking their pictures and whatnot. Now it's Bosch's turn to give him some information because, scratch your back, I'll scratch mine. So he wants him to tell him about the EPA probe. And Bosch is just kind of like says, well, it happens every year. There's always an EPA probe. And he's like, yeah, but says they go down there in their space suits and his customers get jumpy. It usually lasts only a week, but this time it's lasts 4 weeks and it's still going on. Oh, another comment I put about this is that Stern is smoking all throughout this scene. I'm like, the 80s. Back when you could actually smoke on film.
He's smoking weed in front of a cop.
I think it's a cigarette. I think it's just a cigarette.
I don't know. It could have been weed.
It could be the wacky tobacco. I'm not sure, but I think it was just a cigarette.
Yeah, maybe.
So they leave his kitchen and they head down to the cellar outside so that way Stern can show Bosch around. So Stern says he called the EPA to ask what's going on. And they said nothing is going on and probe was over for 3 weeks. And he's like, why lie if, there's nothing going on? Mm-hmm. Oh, I got another great line that Stern says. He says, this ain't no disco. I'm like, oh man, Daniel Stern doing his best to make this movie watchable. So he shows him some stuff he found down there. So he shows Bosch a device marked with the NRC on it for the National Radiation Committee, I believe it was. This is what NRC stands for, I believe.
It's a regulatory commission?
I think it's the Radiation Commission, because it's used to measure radiation. Bosch asks him how he knows that, and he jokes that he used to be a nuclear physicist, and there's like a pause, and he says, I saw it on TV. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, that's what it is. I think I have it later on in my notes when that comes back up. So they keep heading deeper into the sewer, and while walking, says he called and told them he found some of their stolen equipment. And the guy on the other end got real nervous, passed him on to some other people, and no one gave him an explanation, but had plenty of questions for him. Oh yeah, and so he usually leaves some food down there for the shy hobos, but none of it's been touched, and Bosch says, they must not have been too hungry.
It was like a slab of
It's actually very hard to see in the food. Like, I couldn't even see what the hell they were talking about. I'm like, what? There's something left there?
A slab of beef. Like, that was cooked.
Yeah, but, if it hasn't been touched, I wonder why. So they go down in the sewer further, and they find a Geiger counter, and they turn it on, and it starts going ape shit, man. Woolly's gone ape shit.
Yeah, Wooly, for sure, has got ape shit.
So then it slows down, and it stops. And then they hear a loud roar, and yeah, that's the first I think we've heard of a C.H.U.D in quite some time. So, another cut. This movie likes to jump around a lot, too. Back and forth between different people doing different things. So we got George, he comes home. Lauren drops the bombshell on him that she's pregnant. And of course he's like, you're going to have a baby? And then a funny line she says back is that's the side effect of being pregnant. So they discuss alternatives, whatnot, and so they ultimately decide that they're having a baby. I'm gonna keep my baby. No Madonna for the 80s here.
You got it.
We got OMD. You can't get Madonna apparently.
No,
that's
you can't.
too much for the budget.
Too much money.
Oh, and so my comment here is it wouldn't make any sense, but they missed a perfect opportunity to pull like a Humanoids from the Deep ending here and have a Chud baby. Such a wasted opportunity. There should have been a Chud baby. We'll cover Humanoids of the Deep one day, but we won't spoil the ending here, but maybe it'll be in one of my upcoming spoiler intros that I do to start the podcast, which Perry hasn't heard yet, if you haven't known. So what I'm doing is
stuff secret.
Oh, I am. Yes. So at the start of every podcast, and maybe you can play along, but you haven't listened to it yet because it's obviously not released yet. We're going to have a spoiler to another completely different movie with no context to it, like no reference to the actual movie to introduce it. It's kind of like a running gag I came up with that's like a joke. Like, okay, here's a spoiler to some other movie, and then we're talking about a completely other movie. And it's also kind of a dick move because usually, you give a spoiler warning before you actually reveal any information, but it's a spoiler warning and then it spoils something for you and then it goes into the show. Do you get it?
So you're talking about the movie just spoiled in the beginning.
Yes. So no. So here's the spoiler. So, and maybe we can get some sort of contest going for it down the line. Save up a couple and have some people guess them or whatnot or something down the line, or just guess it for fun in the comments. Like maybe when I post it to my Facebook page.
A spoiler for a completely different movie. That we might review down the road.
Yes. Or that we've already reviewed. Maybe we'll come back down the line and have a spoiler for C.H.U.D at some point, or for Intruders at some point.
Gwyneth Paltrow's head is in the box.
Yes, similar to that.
Okay.
Yes, so maybe we'll take a pause here and let you try and guess the one. So the spoiler from the first one, since you haven't heard it yet, was if you don't want to know that Colonel Glover nukes Louisville, stop listening now.
I know what it is.
Okay, all right, so what is the answer?
The Return of the Living Dead.
You are correct, sir. So for our first spoiler intro, the answer was Return of the Living Dead. One of my all-time favorites. Probably my favorite film of all time.
It's really high up there for me.
Yep. We'll get around to it one day. But for now, back to our C.H.U.D review.
No.
Can we talk about Return of the Living Dead instead?
Yes. All right.
Oh, well, that's all right. We'll have a good movie for next week.
So they have a baby.
Next 2 weeks. Yeah, so they're having a baby. And they're in bed again. And, Derek calls about bitching about them photos again. Derek really wants his fucking photos. Meanwhile...
Wait, what's funny about this part is, instead of hanging up the phone, he just tosses it to the ground. So he's probably like, you know what, Derek, you can hear me having sex.
That was the good old call blocker of the 80s, just taking the phone off the hook.
Well, I mean, I think he was still on the line unless we hung up. So he's like, you can listen to me having sex.
Right. Yeah. Meanwhile, outside, got a guy and his granddaughter walking down the street singing do-wah-diddy, diddy-da, diddy-do. I fucked that up. Do-wah-diddy, diddy-da.
So when I first watched this, just the way they were walking and stuff, and some of the stuff to come later, I thought this was a sexual predator that kidnapped the kid. Like when I first watched it,
I needed an adult.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Stranger danger.
All right, continue.
They stop in a phone booth to call Uncle Art. And I'd like to point out, we got 2 phone booths in 2 episodes so far. One in Intruder, and then we got one in this film. So can we keep the trend going? Will our third movie have a phone booth that somebody makes a phone call from? I actually think it does. I haven't tipped you in on what we're reviewing next. I think I might have, because we're getting close to the season, so.
Does it rhyme with Tony?
And maybe a pony.
Oh, I'm excited.
But it's not from Sony. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, he's calling Uncle Art because he's lost, and a creature lifts a manhole cover. Bum, bum, bum. And the girl's watching. So the girl pulls on her grandfather's jacket to try to get his attention, and so he looks over, and that's when the C.H.U.Ds came after him. Oh, Homer, of course you're always going to have a bad experience if you just focus on the pimps and the C.H.U.Ds. I don't think you get that reference, but C.H.U.D has, yes, there is a C.H.U.D reference in a Simpsons episode.
So at this point,
and by the way, I'm going to say that joke every single time a C.H.U.D comes after somebody.
Back to this. To clarify that I think this is a kidnapping. Uncle Art's weird. And then when this guy gets taken by the C.H.U.D and they show her with the phone dangling in front of her face, she doesn't really look scared. She almost looks more happy that he's
I
gone.
think she looked more catatonic.
All right.
A little bit. But yeah, so anyways, this is kill number 2. So yeah, the CHUD opens the door, grabs him by the neck, and pulls him away. So, and you finally get your first decent look at a CHUD for like 2 seconds.
Glowing
It's just
eyes
like the
and
glowing
brown
eyes, it's got this mask. Mask looks okay, and the claw gloves that they have look okay for, that they show creeping out of the sewer. But holy hell, they must only have like one CHUD mask, because that's like, get used to that, because from now on, when you see the CHUDs, that's going to be it. It's going to just be a close-up of the fucking face. They might even reuse that same shot over and over again, for all I know.
So, they cut something out of this.
Oh, did they?
Uncle Art,
yes.
whatever. He was supposed, you hear him saying something on the phone after he gets pulled away. He goes, Jesus, Fred, what have you been eating? Mexican food again?
Okay,
They cut that out.
I think they should have left it in. Probably.
I think it would have been funny. I don't think it would have been over the top, starring Sylvester Stallone, if they left that in.
Right. And I don't think it would have been too offensive either,
Oh, because you made
I mean, Jesus, have you ever been to Taco Bell and
when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah. Oh man, can we be reviewing that movie? That's kind of like sort of a horror movie, being chased by dinosaurs.
Oh, no, you're talking about Demolition Man. Taco Bell's the one that survived the franchise war.
Oh well, you said you gotta go.
Okay.
From not connoisseur, or not. Damn it, I'm fucking this up. From not carnosaur.
Isn't that just a saying? It's from something.
Yeah, that's what the guy says in Jurassic Park before he gets eaten.
Yeah, but
I was trying to avoid saying Jurassic Park just to make a carnosaur joke. You don't know what carnosaur is. Don't worry about it.
Digress, please. Get back to this wonderful, awesome movie.
So yeah, that's kill number 2. And like I said, it's the first of only a few times you get a decent look at the CHUDs. And the mask looked okay. I wouldn't say it's like the greatest thing ever, but it looks pretty good.
It wasn't bad.
Especially compared to later on. Oh man. At the PD, we got the girl tells the cops that a monster came out of the sewer and ate her grandfather. Bosch tells that female officer, she's not quite a secretary, but she's like his go-to person. She's almost like a secretary to get him the Chief O'Brien, because of course, if the chief of police isn't black, he's Irish. Those are the two. It's either you're either a black police chief or an Irish police chief. I want the black Irish police chief or the Irish black police chief. And can we get one of those?
I'm sure in some movie we will.
Anyways, so yeah, get Chief O'Brien on the phone. She looks annoyed with him at this point. Like, this motherfucker, that's all he keeps doing is fucking bossing me around. I understand it's his superior. He's her superior, so, comes with the territory again, boss around, but it's like, this motherfucker has me calling every motherfucker on this damn phone all the time. All in like the span of this 2 days that have taken place for this movie or whatever. 1 day, 2 days. I think we're on day 2. And he wants the officers stationed on Lafayette and Spring, plus at all the subway stations, pulling from other precincts if you have to. He's like, I want an APB out for my wife. I'm like, hate to tell you, buddy, but your wife's long fucking dead.
He's like, he's lost. He's like demanding it. Like,
so on the phone to the chief, he tells him to call the commissioner and tell him we're coming there at 12 sharp and have someone from the NRC there, or his involvement is going to be all over the newspaper about an NRC cover-up. Bosch heads over to pick up his new best buddy Stern and tells him to bring all of his evidence with him. So the two of them go to pick up Cooper and they knock, but there's no answer. So Stern pulls out a knife to jimmy open the door and break in. That's funny because Bosch is like, "You're breaking and entering."
Yeah, the first time
you're under arrest, Stern. It's like I don't know if he's like joking or if he's just like serious. And he's like, "Well, fuck it, we've come this far. Oh well."
The first time there's something obvious that is against the law, they point out and
right?
making a joke.
These officers, they're doing a stand-up job. So they go into the George's dark room and they find photos of Victor's leg wound. They're like, what the fuck is this? So they take all that and they go to the meeting. And I feel like we'll take a pause here for our shameless plug commercial break. So enjoy listening to this horribly recorded ad again. Thanks for bearing with us. And we're back as we continue our review of CHUD.
CHUD.
Now, the question is CHUD 2, Bud the CHUD, better than CHUD 1? Have you even seen it?
To be determined.
To be determined. I'm sure we'll get around to that one. I got a lot to say about CHUD 2, about some of the backstory about it. But anyways, we're still on CHUD 1, folks, so hang with us. We're slogging through it. So at the meeting, Bosch tells him he's been ordered to ignore disappearances in his precinct, but he can't do it anymore because he believes that they are murdered and related to the ongoing probe from the EPA. But the commissioner denies it all, of course. And Bosch says it's hot, i.e. it's radioactive. And he shows them the evidence that they got the Geiger counter surged and then dropped down like something hot was moving down there. And our nuclear regulation committee guy, his name's Wilson, he brushes it off as a standard equipment malfunction. This happens all the time with those. Sometimes when you turn them on, they surge for a second and then come back down. Then they tell him about the girl and the monster, which, like anybody's going to buy into that story. I mean, I'm sure they know about, we're spoiling this whole thing, of course, but further down the line, they probably already know about the monsters, but, anybody tells you this, you're not going to take any of it with any sort of seriousness. But then they tell him about the pictures, and that's when when Stern's like, oh, you look nervous, huh? And then they show him the bite picture, and they want an explanation for that. Stern threatens them. It's like, you want to talk, or I'm going to take this story to the papers. And another, the 80s moment when newspapers were still a thing. Of course, still around today, but newspaper circulation way down, of course, and obviously most of the modern generation just gets their news from the internet. So
influential is the one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But back in the 80s, newspapers were still a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut to George and Lauren in the park. So, of course, another cut, another jump to another random thing going on. And they're discussing their plans for raising kids, and Hugh Creepy Murphy showing up.
Okay.
Oh, he's like, you talking about kids?
It was like
that would have been better if it was like
eavesdropping, probably for like
a creepy
for over 30 minutes on that.
Oh yeah. So he comes up and he wants to talk to George. Introduces himself as a freelance reporter, which I didn't actually know he's a freelance reporter until he told us at this point. I kind of figured he was some sort of news guy. I think I don't even hear his name until this point too, at least not very well. If they said his name earlier, it was hard to hear. I almost kind of just assumed this might be Derek trying to get his story. It would have probably made more sense and had one fewer character. So he tells him about how him and the bag lady were being tailed yesterday. And then, of course, now we cut back to the commissioner's meeting.
Cut back.
Because why finish one pertinent thought when we can just cut back to another scene that's been ongoing and then cut back to another scene that's been ongoing? So yeah, back at the commissions, the NRC encountered slightly elevated radiation levels in the Lafayette Street area. They want to know, well, where is it coming from? And they're like, remember the story leaking about transporting radioactive material through Manhattan? Well, it's still under appeal, and the materials are already sitting there, but they can't be moved because of the order, and they can't do anything with it until the appeal is resolved. So that's his lame excuse about why there's radiation down there. Cut back to the park, and Murphy wants a story about the sewer people, and tells him about the NRC people. And he's like, why are the cops going nuts about a lady wanting a gun? He's starting to put the pieces together here, so... And then, what do we do now? We cut back to the commission's office. And I'm just like, oh my God, can we finish one scene before starting another one, people? Stern, he wants to know about how this ties into the disappearances. And another great Stern delivery here, because the commission tries to chime in and he's just like, eat it! And he accuses the NRC guy, and he just wants to know what the hell's going on. And he wants to know what they're trying to hide, because he kind of picks up on some, nervous cues here. He's like, you saw it! They saw the C.H.U.D. So Stern storms off, and he grabs all of his photos, and he fucking just hurls the NRC guy's briefcase across this big table and onto the floor. Yeah, they got this huge conference room that they're in for just a few people. So yeah, Stern storms off. Bosch, he picks up the open portfolio from the briefcase, and he sees C.H.U.D printed on it, and it says classified. And he's like, oh, there's our title drop. The NRC guy snatches it back, of course, because it's classified. He gets a phone call, and he's like, well, 2 gas guys found it. So he tells them what it is. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dweller. Or is it? Chime in over here, Perry, man. Do I have to keep saying everything?
What?
I haven't heard you chime in for a while.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know. Say anything.
They're clearly chronically horny, ugly devils.
Who'd you get that from?
Amazon.
Oh boy. This wasn't your buddy Steve, was it?
It might be Steve.
Oh jeez. Apparently the creature is dead because the gas guys were down there because there was a gas leak. And so the gas, killed the C.H.U.D. I wish something would kill the C.H.U.D. in this movie. Oh, wait. Movie's over, right? The Chud's dead?
Yeah, is it over right then?
Ah, darn. No, unfortunately it's not. So outside, Stern goes to another payphone. Got 2 payphones. This one's not a booth, but it's just a, standard payphone.
Payphones are big in the 80s.
Right.
90s, 70s.
Oh, the 80s. Good old payphones. And this is great because this guy, who's this crony for the NRC apparently, he stops him because I think he's going to call newspaper or something to report about it. He goes up as he's trying to make the call and he puts the thing on the... He hits the coin return to knock out the coin before he can make the call, and he takes the guy's quarter and eats it. That is hardcore right there. That is commitment to your job there of being a thug and stopping this guy. Meanwhile, Bosch and the rest of the gang, they meet in a factory to check out the C.H.U.D, and they got these tents set up in this thing, and they say every indication that this was once human. Especially since it's dressed in rags. So they pull back the cover, and you only get to see the reflection of the C.H.U.D in, like, this guy's hazmat suit.
Yeah,
I'm like, what a total cop-out. So lame.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, it died from the gas leak. Wilson says, well, there aren't any more. All right, movie's over. Bye. Check, please. Oh, wait, we're not there yet. Oh, yeah, that's right. Completely forgot about our goddamn pancakes. Well, Delores, in between episodes, finally came around and took our order, because apparently she never got her order the first time. Fucking Delores.
Messes up.
So our order is in. We'll see if we get our short stack of pancakes by the end of the episode. I mean, probably have a better chance of another C.H.U.D showing up in this movie. Oh, boy. Anywho, Bosch wants to send people down, but they won't let him do it because there's too much publicity, and he gets overridden by the commissioner about it. So Wilson's men go back down, and they got like a camera set up, so they're observing them on this monitor at this factory, this makeshift C.H.U.D dissection center / command op place. But Bosch's men are already down there with flamethrowers, just like he wanted to.
Hold up. Since when does a police department have flamethrowers?
Well, you just go down to see Dick Miller and you got your requisition form and you get a flamethrower like lickety split.
No. They had special uniforms.
No.
We know it's the NYPD, but it had NY.
No, this is standard police procedure. You go down, you see Dick Miller.
I don't care about Dick.
You ask if you have flamethrowers, and he's like, "You got a requisition form for that?" And you're like, "No," and you just point a shotgun at his face, and you get your flamethrower.
We know Jim Brown is allowed to have flamethrowers, but
I think you need to watch a few more movies here.
The National Guard might have flamethrowers if they were caught in.
I'm pretty sure
a standard police precinct of
I'm not sure you're picking up my reference here.
I'm not. I don't know if you're picking up mine either.
If you've even watched this movie that I'm talking about before, I think we have. We've definitely talked about it. Yeah, because Rusty Griswold's in it.
They had flamethrowers with matching uniforms. Flame retardant uniforms with almost the NYPD.
Well, I guess the NYPD can afford the flame retardant uniforms, but I mean, I'm not sure if Tom Atkins police station could afford them, but it's standard issue. Every place has a flamethrower. Every police station has an armament department with a flamethrower. You just gotta go see Dick Miller for it.
Oh my God.
I don't know why you find that hard to believe. I'm pretty sure it's common practice. You just go down, you see Dick Miller, and you get your flamethrower. Why don't you believe me?
No, you keep pressing the issue. I want to know why. Why do they fucking flamethrowers?
Well, because you never know when you might have to, kill some chuds or some slug creatures or, let's see, what are some other things that flamethrowers are used in?
I can tell you what. Those New York flame fighter officers certainly seem to know more of what the hell they were doing than the NRC people who look scared shitless.
And they still got their asses kicked. Oh man, I think I screwed this up in my notes because I have the kills misnumbered because these guys definitely die. Anyways, so Bosch and Wilson's men head into the sewer together. And like I said, the NRC guys have the camera and the Geiger counter's going crazy, so they unleash the flamethrowers. But Bosch thinks he sees something in the flames there. Wilson's just like, there's nothing there. But then the feed goes dead and they lose communication. So I think there was 3 NRC guys and 3 police officers.
3 or 4, yeah.
So that's like kills 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I think
Wait, hold on.
Says
3, 4, 5,
sorry.
6, 7, 8. Yes. So we'll just call those kills 8. So my notes are misnumbered now because I didn't write these down. Maybe I just assumed that these guys lived. Well, I guess I should have known they shouldn't have lived because one of the head police guy leading the flamethrower brigade is black. So I should have known, black guy in a horror movie, it wasn't going to end well for him, unfortunately.
He seemed cool. He
was badass. He's like Bobby Rhodes in fucking Demons, and he goes out like a bitch. Coolest character probably in the movie,
other than James saw Stern. Something in the flames, but
yes, he was dismissing it because he's just trying to cover it up.
Didn't. When I saw that, I'm like,
I kind of see like a shadow.
I'm like, what are they talking about?
But anyway, and then that's when the C.H.U.Ds came for them. Yep, kills 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe more. We're back at the commissioner's office. And they show the video of the officers getting ambushed and whatnot. And so he backs Bosch and says people must be warned. So Wilson says they will stop them with gas. Wait for autopsy to determine some more ways to kill them, so as well. But back at George's place, Lauren says not to get involved in the story because George and Lauren are back at their place together. And she says not to get involved in Murphy's story. But then he notices that his photos are gone, so he's got to get involved in the story. So he calls Murphy, going to meet him, because he thinks he took the photos. Because, he's creepy like that. He'd, want photos
he calls them
of children
he's
and
like,
whatnot.
Hey, meet me here at this, or like real fast at this time. And it's like, I'm sure he's leaving a message. What if Murphy doesn't check his messages? His answering machine.
Well, that's why he has that little device to hold up the phone so he can either record his messages or contact his answering machine.
It's like a pager for your answering machine, so you know when you have messages.
Everybody must have had one in the 80s.
Right. I don't know what this is. This is all news to me.
Hey, it's news to me. I don't think we had an answering machine until like in the 90s because they were pricey. Like in the 80s, of course, and it was always just like, oh, well, there's always somebody home, and we can just answer the phone, and well, there's not always somebody home, but when you went on a trip, it wasn't uncommon. Like we just didn't have an answering machine, just had to wait until we got home to give us the news. Yeah. So yeah, he's going to meet up with Murphy. Then we cut to Stern at the soup kitchen, and he gets jump scared by Bosch. We got a Bosch scare. So Stern was roughed up by that goon that ate his last quarter. What a dick. And then Bosch tells Stern that he saw the monster on the videotape, which, I saw a shadow of a monster because, again, we hardly seeing any C.H.U.D action. And meanwhile, George meets up with Murphy, but of course we know he doesn't have the pictures because he thinks there's a cover-up going on. So he doesn't know what's going on, so they head to the PD. So Bosch and Stern, we cut back to them. Like I said, million cuts. We can't just finish one cohesive thought. We can't just let one set of items finish before starting another set in another scene. But he tells him about the C.H.U.D and what it stands for. He tells him Wilson is thinking about flooding the sewer with gas. And he tells Stern it isn't safe there. But Stern decides to stay because, it's his soup kitchen and whatnot. Oh yeah, we cut to Wilson now. So he says they are going to seal off tunnels and flood them with gas. But the Chief O'Brien here, he's like, thinks it'll blow up the whole city. And Wilson's just like, well, only a section of Soho. I think he said Soho. It was Soho, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a bit of funny dark humor there. I like that. That was a good chuckle. This guy's a pretty good bad guy, despite the fact that, oh yeah, that was the other thing I meant to say about that old guy got killed. It was like 36 minutes in before he had some more action, which, like other movies like sprinkle in, like maybe you don't see somebody die, but there's implications that somebody died. And this movie, it took 36 minutes before it like teased you with the opening of instant kill. Oh, okay, maybe we'll have a high count monster kill fest here, but not so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of off screening. If you're going to have build up to this big climactic finale, you might as well go full humanoids from the deep, rather than this anticlimactic buzzkill here. But anyways, moving on, because we gotta get through this. Oh my goodness, too many pages of notes. Meanwhile, in the sewer, so George and Murphy go looking. From that, though, we cut back to Stern, who's firing up his stove on his gas burner there to make some soup for the hobos, but the flame goes out, and he's trying to get it restarted. But nope, it's not restarting, because that's obviously the sign that the gas lines are being diverted into the sewer. Mm-hmm. So Stern heads down to go looking for the hobos to warn them, but then they get locked in by the quarter-eating thug, and he runs into this other hobo down here, and this other hobo tries to run out, but he gets kicked back in and falls down and breaks his neck. And at first I thought this was their buddy Hugo, but it's not, because Hugo shows up later when they go to see Victor, and I'm like, so who's this random fucking hobo? You're looking at me puzzled there.
Yeah, that was the guy from the beginning with the knife.
Oh, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Is it? It's like this. There's
Well, you
so
can't
many
see
dirty looking
anything when they
hobos
do
that have like
damn scene.
beards there.
Like you couldn't see the
So
food they left out for them.
Not Victor. Val. Val was
Val,
that
yeah.
crazy
You
hobo's
can't-
name. That was probably him. You're probably right. But Val. I think Val also had a mustache. Better than your mustache?
Never.
You decide.
Nope.
Where'd I leave off here in these note-a-roonies?
He's dead. That's not a Chud kill.
Yeah, it's not a Chud kill. I didn't count that. So we cut back to George and Stern, and sooner or later our B plot and C plot here are going to meet up to... But it's going to take some time, people. So we cut back to George and Murphy, but Murphy gets ambushed by a Chud. Oh, and that's the other thing. Murphy's got a gun, and he's like, well, if the hobos want a gun, I want to have a gun. So, because George doesn't have a gun. Indeed he does.
He's creepy as hell.
So Murphy gets ambushed by a Chud, and we have, so I have it as kill number 3, but it's actually, so if I said 8, so this is kill number 9. And then the Chuds came after him. Well, come on, Murphy. Of course New York's going to seem like a bad time if that's all you do is worry about the pimps and the Chuds. George tries to save him, but that guy is straight fucked. And again, you only get a brief glimpse of the Chud, like maybe 1 or 2 seconds of the face, maybe some of the arms grabbing Murphy and pulling him into this sewer alcove, and that's about it. So Stern, because he's stuck down there, heads down into the sewers, and as he goes deeper into the dark, his flashlight dies. Good old horror cliches.
It's funny, it dies, but the lighting, I understand it's implied, but the lighting
Right.
was pretty damn bright from the camera.
It didn't look too bright to me, but yeah, I mean, you could still see what was going on for sure. As he's going through this one tunnel leading into this open area, he gets a glimpse of a group of Chuds, and they're gathered around this waste dump and this spilt waste. And Stern's trying to sneak up and get like a closer look, but he kicks some rubble and it alerts the Chuds, and they all look over, and it's a very quick scene, so it's only meant to just last for a second, so you don't see it too long. But even I could tell, and then I rewound it and paused it to get a good look, that, oh my god, the Chuds just look so horrible. And that's how you can tell they did not have very many of the actual Chuds made up, because these are just like really cheap looking masks, and they're covered in almost like complete brown rags, so they don't have to actually cast or mold any sort of Chud parts for the body, just the hands and the heads. I don't even know if they did feet for him.
Yeah, it looked real bad.
Yeah, and like I said, it's meant to be not a close-up, just like a wide shot of these Chuds, and boom, it's only for a second. But it feels really lazy not to have a few more suits made up. And I understand if it's low budget, but I mean, if you're going to do low budget and you're only going to have one suit, just have one monster and just have it last through the whole movie, people. I mean,
so low budget. The movie cost...
You're trying to save money here.
It cost $1.25 million to make. And that's probably a lot in 1984.
Yeah, it's still kind of low budget, though, for that time.
1984?
Yeah, budgets were starting to get bigger by then. I mean, it's a bit high, but it's not as low budget as some things, but 1.25 still isn't a lot of money for that type of movie. It's a bit on the higher side, but it's definitely a lot less than, like,
if we're comparing,
some of them.
Intruder was less, and it was so much better.
Well, yes. Sometimes less is more.
Okay, but anyways, I digress off of that.
I mean, Halloween only had like a budget of $200,000. And that was 1978? I might have my year wrong on that. I think Halloween was 1978.
Late 70s. Put in that ballpark.
So where was I in this godforsaken mess? Oh yeah, so flashlight, yeah, Stern. So yeah, Stern runs away because now the Chuds came after him. I think that's the only good part of this episode is I get to use that reference a million times. Meanwhile, we cut over to Lauren at the apartment, and we have an ominous view of that hatch in the basement. Then we cut back to Stern, trying to escape, and he drops the Geiger counter, and it turns on as he drops it or when it hits the ground, and it's going crazy again. And so we cut back to Lauren. She lifts the hatch that leads to, like, the basement from their apartment. Like, there's, like, a drop-down thing, probably, like, almost like maybe a laundry chute to drop down laundry if, like, maybe the building's washing machine and dryer are down there. Mm-hmm. But she drops like the jewelry box or whatever, the box of something, photos or whatever down there. And she goes down to retrieve it. and she turns and she sees the dead dog hanging by its leash from the beginning. And see, everything from the first act always comes back, and I'm not even sure if we're technically in the third act by now, but we're getting close, if not,
Are we?
I don't even know if this movie has a third act. I
That
think it just
movie
has
end
a
there?
really
Is it
long
over
second
now?
act.
Is the movie over now? Delores, where's my cake?
Yeah, please, Delores, can we have some goddamn fucking pancakes, put us out of our misery, and eat something that's probably better than this fucking film? Yeah, so she sees the dog, and I was very surprised that this dog wasn't eaten, considering all these other people are being... Well, I don't think the people are necessarily being eaten. They probably are, but some of them are being brought down and converted to chuds, because obviously...
Cannibalistic.
Right. But still, I think because other people are turning into chuds down there as well, as we'll find out here in a second.
It was weird though. The dog had some kind of weird glaze on it. It looked like it was frozen in ice almost.
He had the devil's eyes.
He was frozen in ice, or she, or whatever.
We cut back to the riverfront because Bosch and the cops got a call from a guy who found a severed head, and so we find the severed head, and it's his wife. Bum bum bum.
No, that's Stern's wife.
Well, anyways, decent looking severed head. I feel like all the real budget went to not the chuds, but just doing some of the gore effects for the few scenes there are with them. We cut back to Lauren, and she runs upstairs, and as I've noted time and time again, there's lots of cutting back and forth going on. Kind of annoying. Here it works a little bit better, but it's like, why can't we just finish one idea, people? One concept, then go on to the next scene. Of course, after this news, Bosch goes boozing at the bar, talking about his wife. Stayed up all night studying, what was she trying to become? A teacher? I think she was studying to become a teacher or something, I forget, but she was up all night studying and walked the dog. And I really think the chuds did a favor for Bosch here, because I think his wife was two-timing on him. And she might have been, considering the area she was going to, and Stern was located right there, she might have been two-timing with A.J. Shepard there. Anyway, so Lauren tries to call the police about the dog, and the hatch starts to lift up. Uh-oh. She goes to take a shower, and I'm just like, oh man, maybe we're still going to get this chud impregnation scene. Fingers crossed.
Just continue.
Oh yeah. So if you're hoping for some even side boob here, you're going to be very disappointed.
I mean, I was very disappointed.
I was like, all right, finally, we're going to get some nudity in this.
If it starts, it says sexual content as a warning, right?
Yeah, it doesn't say nudity though.
Scary Perry wants his titties.
Well, see, there was sexual content in her sexy posing there, and then her getting in the shower.
She was behind fur.
But nudity and sexual content are separate there, buddy. She was just looking sexy, which counts for sexual content.
All right. Maybe
she goes to take a shower, but as she's taking a shower, the drain's backing up and water's not draining out of the shower. She's got a hanger nearby, and she straightens it out, and she sticks a hanger down there to try to unplug it, and all this blood shoots out, and we finally get some music, and we got some crazy stinger music that starts playing. And it's pretty good stinger music, but it almost makes up for the lack of music in this at all. Almost makes up for it. Doesn't quite, though.
At this scene, I have a lot of what the fucks.
Oh yeah, I was going to say something.
What the fuck is in the drain?
This is true. Is there some sort of chud in the drain, or did part of the dog get stuffed down there? It's a very legitimate question. Why is the drain shooting out blood? You're 100% right. The logic behind it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then she gets sprayed with the shit ton of blood.
Oh yeah.
And she doesn't seem phased. She doesn't scream.
She seemed kind of phased.
No,
I thought she did scream.
No, she did not seem phased.
She didn't scream? I thought she screamed. Because then because shortly after the music starts playing, because everything's going crazy with the music, and then it cuts back, then it cuts away from her.
Unless it was supposed to be in there and they cut it because this movie is cutting back to...
That scene was very quick. I just started enjoying this crazy music that was going on, and the blood was squirting everywhere. This is probably one of the highlights of the movie was this scene. It's entertaining for what it is.
I see this coming, too. I'm like, wow.
It's 100% predictable. Oh, the drain's backed up.
I understand something's going to happen, but how much blood...
maybe a chud was trying to reach us. But how does the chud... it's not like that water pipe is big enough.
Yeah, I don't
That
know.
drain is big enough for a big creature to fit in. Baby chud. Maybe it was a baby chud.
Died like an embryo. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense
to me.
It's an awesome scene, but
viewers, you have to check it.
In
she
the
did
context,
not seem phased.
In the context of it, it doesn't make sense. I'll take your word for it that she didn't seem phased. Like I said, me watching this movie was a 3+ hour ordeal of pause, take some notes. It's like, what the fuck did they just talk about? What the fuck just happened? Rewind. So yeah, it takes me a lot longer to watch a movie when trying to take notes on it. If it was something I was more familiar with, I could probably do it easily and not have to worry about it, because I could just probably do the notes from my memory of the movie, but I digress. So anyways, now it's nighttime. And we got some cops going to the diner. And who's one of the cops played by?
My man, John Goodman.
John Goodman makes a cameo. And it's great because he walks in and he just starts flirting on like the waitress there. And he's like, nice legs. And it's like real subtle. Oh, he says nice legs to his partner. Like real subtle. Like, and she's like, I heard that. Like, you know, because obviously he's doing one of those whispers, but one of those like loud enough that everybody still heard you whisper. And John Goodman replies to her, he's like, I bet you've heard it before, too. Maybe John Goodman should have been in this movie more. Maybe they should have had him been, like, a main police officer helping Bosch out. Might have made this movie a little more bearable. Outside, manhole cover starts to lift up. And there's these two bums there, and one bum's, like, asleep. And this other bum tries to wake him, and he's just like, well, this dude's not waking up, so fuck it, I'm out of here. Fuck this guy. So, Goodman's still harassing the waitress inside. I mean, to be fair, I think this, because they're like harassing her about the cooking, and to be fair, I mean, she's probably a better waitress than Delores.
Okay, so didn't he compliment her? Why is this, because he had a hamburger, why is this hamburger so good?
I thought he was harassing her about the cooking or something.
Right,
it seemed like, because then she had like a snide remark, like, you know, like giving me sass, some sort of giving me sass type comment here.
Okay, so when they first go in this diner scene, I noticed on the wall behind the grill, it says, I couldn't make out the entire word from their shot. It says, we serve marg. And I'm like, this is a diner. Like, does this sign say margaritas? We serve
I didn't pay that much attention to all the background.
Well, it says, so we serve margaritas. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing. I think for, you know, that's a weird diner and selling margaritas. But later they pan over, because I couldn't think of another word. What would it be? We serve margarine. That's what it says. And I thought he said something about how the burgers were tasting. I'm like, well, then that's the secret. Margarine.
Yep, margarine instead of butter.
It was funny, okay? I thought it said no margarine.
Or maybe.
You're looking at me like you don't even care.
I don't.
I'm going to go have more margaritas after this.
Oh, boy.
Delores, you got margaritas?
Come on, the Slapjack establishment doesn't have margaritas.
They have margarine.
It barely has fucking pancakes.
Do you have margarine? I don't know.
Anyways, so yeah, so we pan around, and the diner windows are surrounded by chuds.
Oh.
So the windows start breaking. And again, we got lots of zoom ups of the chuds, but no wide shots of them. And yeah, it's clearly one freaking chud, just in different spots and different zoom ups to make it seem like there's more. Well, there might be like one wide shot where you see a couple of them standing, but
it's just all about the glowing eyes.
Yep, it's all about zooming in on that. Like I said, the mask is respectable, the zoomed in one. It's better than the cheap ones they used in the group scene. But so, and then we get some shooting that starts, and do we have, so hold on, we're on kill, that last kill was 9, so I'm not sure how many people were in this diner. I know the 2 cops and the waitress. So we got kills 10, 11, 12 at least, 13, 14, maybe more.
I mean, I just count 3, but there could have been more than that.
Yeah, maybe more. And that's when the chuds came after them. No pimps, though. Just chuds. Anyways, so we cut back to Lauren, and she's getting dressed. And no tits. We did not get to see those tits from the time she got undressed till the time she got dressed. Like I said, I'm just like, damn. Might have given another half a pancake to this movie if it showed me a little more skin. I'm just saying.
Well, it would automatically have a half more cannoli for me. I mean, automatically. So, that's the deal. But it doesn't.
We cut to hallway, and Kid here's knocking at the basement as he's playing with his toys. And it's time for dinner for him, though. Francine, who we haven't seen in a while, calls for him. In fact, I don't think we'll see her again. Maybe they die. Maybe the chuds came after them, too. He leaves for dinner, didn't get killed, but then he goes back for his truck that he left back by the basement door. And I'm just like, my God, this kid is asking for it. If this kid runs back for one more thing he forgot, first it was his ball, and then it was his truck. This kid goes back to this door one more time. I hope he gets killed.
I thought he was going to die for how many times?
Oh, I thought so too. And that might have given this movie another half a pancake.
Just kill the kid.
If this kid got like fucking like shut-asized here.
Shut-asized. The movie end here?
No. Oh. So he leaves, and then the chuds finally break open the door. So back at the diner, so it's a crime scene. There's blood all over the place, but they can't find any bodies. So yeah, sad times at Ridgemont High for John Goodman at all. So Wilson, he wants all the manholes sealed to trap the chuds down there, and they're going to gas them. I can't remember when he says it, but this is going to come up later. He makes an offhand remark about trying not to hit any potholes either, because you could blow up the whole thing because it's filling with gas if you hit the slightest pothole. And that's going to come back at the end. And is there an end to this review?
Wait, you said end?
Back in the sewer, George is still wandering around, and he finds half-eaten Hugo, which is actually a pretty decent effect, because like there's the entrails and everything. It's kind of like split in two there. He inspects the body of and Victor C.H.U.D, because he goes over to Victor, tries to check him out, but no, wait, hold on, I'm getting too far in my note. He calls to Victor. Victor turns around, and he's in the process of turning into C.H.U.D, because you can see his eyes are yellow, because that's the thing, is like the C.H.U.Ds were human once, so the hobos, sure, some of them are disappearing, but some are just disappearing because they're turning into C.H.U.Ds from, you know, all the shit down there.
Are they zombies?
No. They're just
He got
transformed into monsters. Well, he did get bit.
Does him getting
But
bit?
see, how did the first C.H.U.D come about to bite other people to turn them into C.H.U.Ds then?
Where did the first zombie come from?
From radiation from a probe from Venus? Bringing back a recently dead body? Come on, man, you gotta keep up with your zombinology here, you know.
Saying, these things seem like zombies. They almost gave him the trait of zombies. He got bit.
I feel like it's more just he's got exposure. I think the biting helps because they're filled with so much radiation anyways, because the Geiger counter goes crazy whenever a C.H.U.D's around. I feel like they have so much radiation that it just speeds up the process of slowly turning into a C.H.U.D from living down there.
I mean, maybe he never got bit. I mean, he has a psycho sister. She probably just
could have just got scratched.
Took a chunk out of his leg because she felt like it or something like that.
It's like, man, that soup kitchen food sucked. I'm still hungry. I mean, give me your leg, Victor.
But there's another bite that occurs coming up here. But anyways.
George shoots him, and he goes to inspect the body, but of course, we get the fake out, not actually dead jump scare. And Victor C.H.U.D raises his head, and that's where he gets double tapped. He gets the double tap, another shot, double tap, always double tap.
Yeah.
Kind of like zombies.
Yeah.
So the bag lady shows up and clubs him from behind, and he drops the gun. She's mad he killed her brother. But I mean, guy was clearly turned into a C.H.U.D, so I mean, what the fuck do you expect? What do you think he's gonna do? So she grabs the gun and she's gonna shoot him, but Stern shows up and just like pushes her from behind, and that's just enough to knock her out.
Like, I don't know.
Like, he didn't even knock her over the head with anything. He just, like, pushed her down.
I don't know if he...
I don't know, just she has, like, fragile bones and, like, broke every fucking bone in her body or something, or snapped her neck on the way down.
Probably. I don't know if he knew what was going on when he got in the room, or had enough time to assess the situation, so he could have just ran into her and pushed her down and killed her. Or he could have saw the gun and just, you know, yeeted her across the room.
Yeet. But it's like, all you do is push her. Like, why didn't she get back up and try to kill him again or do something? You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, this one push knocked her out cold.
She didn't have her daily intake of soup. I don't know.
Right. Introductions are exchanged there, and George makes a comment because he's the soup kitchen runner. He's like, thank God you deliver. Yeah. Like, that's the reason he's down there, because he's delivering.
I just kind of like, that is so corny. What the hell?
Bosch, he arrives at the crime scene, and he's lambasting Wilson, and he yells at him, it's like, someone has got to stop you! And then Lawrence sees the diner on the news. More cutting again, God. Wilson parks the vehicles on manhole covers, so the C.H.U.Ds can't get out. Unfortunately, that means George and Stern can't get out. So Lauren, after seeing the news, runs out of her apartment, but she sees a C.H.U.D again. Only lingering for a second again on the C.H.U.D, and runs back inside. I don't know why she was leaving her apartment either. Maybe she put the two and two together. It's like, oh my goodness, George is in the sewer. But I don't know how she knows that George is even in the sewer, because all she knew was George was going to meet Murphy. She didn't know what the two were going to do. I mean, you could kind of imply they were in the sewer.
Did she overhear what she did within?
Maybe, but I'm not 100% sure.
Obviously, they met at a subway station.
Yeah, but she was still in the apartment, and then they went and met.
Yeah, but he got the call.
But that's all she said is like, meet me here. She didn't know, like, maybe they sat down and were having a cup of coffee over his photos, you know? She doesn't know. And that comes up again later. I got an issue with that. So for whatever reason, she ran outside, runs back inside after seeing the C.H.U.D. So she tries to call the police, but she trips on her chair, which rips out the phone cord. I'm like, man, don't these jacks have like safety things where if they're pulled on, they pop out? Not in the 80s. Not in the 80s.
I'm sure this is early 80s. I'm sure they had them somewhere, but they're not Maybe the rich had. I don't know. You know, whatever. The rich had him.
So she goes and she starts to barricade the door, and like the camera gets really shaky here for a second. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't know.
It was like shaky cam, like following her. I'm like, I don't know if that was necessary or why it's happening, or if they're just the cameraman was shaky that day. I have no idea. So
the soup apparently.
right, George and Stern blocking off manholes to gas the sewers. The manhole covers are blocked off, so they're looking for one that isn't blocked. So the police, they come to inspect Lauren's building, and they get ambushed by Chud arms. Just the Chud arms pop out, though. So maybe 2 more Chud kills here.
Yeah, that's 2, yeah.
And that's when the Chuds came for them. So Stern and George, they stumble onto the toxic waste area that Stern had found earlier. And we cut back to Lauren. Lauren, she's got her ear to the door listening, and then that's when the Chuds start banging on her door real hard. So we cut back to Stern and George, and they find some more stuff, and it's marked with the acronym CHUD, but on here it's stamped as something different, because CHUD actually stands for, as I alluded to at the end of the previous episode, Contamination Hazard Urban Disposal. And that's what it really stands for, because Wilson, he's been dumping the stuff in the sewers for years. They weren't transporting it through Manhattan. They were just like, well, might as well stick it in the sewers. Nobody will know it's down there. Mm-hmm. Which I feel like, I mean, it's New York City. Somebody would find out. It's big enough. There's lots of people. I feel like if you wanted to do that, you would just like dump it out in the middle of nowhere, like in Mother Nature or something,
dump it in the water
or in like some like backwoods hick town or something.
There was somewhere. I think somewhere in New York. They did. They used to dump nuclear or I don't know whatever toxic waste.
A lot of times,
and they built a city on top of it, but they didn't like warn its residents, and they started getting sick or something. It's a popular thing.
He's talking about how what was that movie about that one chick?
I don't know if it's
Aaron.
No, this isn't Silent Hill, but
no, not Silent Hill. Is that the plot of the Silent Hill movie?
No, I don't know. It's just something. No, this
That's
is
not
true.
what the
This
video
is
is
true.
about.
It's somewhere in New York. I don't know. I heard
Yeah,
in college or something.
Is it Aaron Brockovich? Was that the story?
I mean, that's
kind of similar.
Yeah, but this was not,
but not like
desert.
I don't think that was hazardous waste. I think that was just it might have been something from the water plant, mercury or something.
They put something in the water.
Yeah.
Or it had a certain.
I've only seen bits and pieces of that movie,
I forget what it.
But I know the gist.
And that's
of it.
based on a true. That's a better horror movie than this.
Hey now. And they're just like really close to this stuff. I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't want to be close to that stuff. I mean, these people are turning into fucking chuds from that stuff. Get the fuck away from that shit. And anyways, Wilson gives the order to start pumping the gas in. George and Stern, they find more mutilated bodies. Again, they're pretty decent effects here. And George, he wants to hurl like Frank did in Return of the Living Dead. Another Return of the Living Dead reference. 2 in 1 episode. Heyo. So they find the video camera from the previous crew that was down there, and they try to use it to call for help, but there's no audio, so they need a headset. Plus the guy on the other end who's sitting there in the command center watching the monitors, he's dozing off anyway, so he's not paying attention to the monitors. Otherwise, he might have been able to say something. They look around and they find a headset on this gnarly looking severed head, which is a really good effect here. Like I said,
that was good.
I feel like all the effects went into like the several bits of gore.
Yeah.
A little bit went toward the one decent looking Chud mask that they used for zoom up in the one Chud, and that was it.
Yep.
Maybe it all went to Daniel Stern and John Hurd's budget or salaries.
Dialogue. It went on.
Right.
Dialogue.
It all went into the dialogue.
And the cinematographer of cutting. He's probably running around. That filmed in New Jersey. Right around New Jersey.
So they find the headset, they plug it into the camera, and they get the guy's attention. And this NRC guy calls the PD. They radio Bosch to tell him they got Reverend on video. Know what that means? Because like who the fuck's the Reverend? They don't know. I bet it was his fucking female officer underling / secretary that's still fucking like, Jesus fucking Christ, he's gotta be pissed off at this point, just like being this guy's answering machine and personal operator. We cut back to Lauren. She's screaming for help out the window, and they're still banging on the door. She turns off the lights, I actually think she goes over to the breaker and just cuts the power to keep I think her plan was to like keep the Chud in the dark so she could like sneak around. So the Chud breaks in, and she's like off to one side by the door, waiting for the Chud to walk in and going to try to sneak out through the door while the Chud came in. After the Chud came in and starts looking around, But he notices her and he just flings this desk, like blocking the door. And she runs. She's hiding in the dark room. The Chud goes in there to look for her. But she's up on the shelves and she throws down this like jar of, I think it's like developing fluid right on its face. And then so she runs out of the dark room. The door's closed and she just grabs this fucking sword out of nowhere off the wall. You're like, where the fuck do the flamethrowers? Yeah, where the fuck do the flamethrowers come from? She grabs this fucking sword out of nowhere.
I noticed though in the beginning of the movie,
it's like a legit fucking sword.
In the beginning of the movie when George.
I'm sure it was up there, but it's just like, it's like if you're not paying attention, you're like, where the fuck does somebody have a fucking sword and for what reason? So she's waiting for it to come out through the doorway, but instead it just bursts straight through the wall. And so we get this like cool Chud stretching its head effect.
It's like almost like an alien.
It reminded me a lot of like Gooseneck Henrietta in Evil Dead 2.
Okay, yeah.
So kind of similar to that, but that was a big mistake because it just gives her more room to cut off its severed head with as she swings the sword. So she cuts off the head and it tries to bite her ankle and she just kicks it. And you know the Chud's dead because its eyes stop glowing and they slowly go dim.
Bitter, actually, and I thought that could lead to her turning into
Chud baby. Oh man, like I said, I would give this.
I mean, this would
definitely be at least 4 pancakes if it had a Chud baby, maybe even 5. That might put it over the top. Some super ridiculous ending that puts it up to a 5. It would have at least been a 4 if there was like a Chud baby birth, but alas. Not this time. So now that the Chud's gone, Lauren runs for the cop cruiser that's sitting outside, abandoned by the dead cops. And she gets in and starts driving away. So we cut back to George and Stern, and they're making a run for it. And you can tell the gas is starting to fill up in the sewers because they're coughing. Plus, I think you hear some Chud noises chasing after them. And I hope you enjoyed the Chuds because I think that's the last we see of them, I think.
I think that you're right.
For the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Like, the rest is just alluded to with Chud noises. Maybe when they're trying to get out of the sewer, there might be one brief shot of them coming up shadowy like, but I don't think so. I think that's it. So Bosch gets on his bullhorn and he's calling for the keys because he's coordinating to try to get these guys out for this van that they got blocking the manhole cover. And then I call him the right here guy because it cuts over to this guy who's like, right here, I got the keys. And this might be this guy's only claim to fame. He's the right here guy from Chud. And that's his only line. He's just like, right here. But Wilson grabs the keys before Bosch. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And Bosch is like blackmailing him. You know, it's like, I'm going to go public and tell everybody about this, about the chemicals you're dumping down there. Because I think I might have missed this somewhere here in my notes, or I might not have put it down. But I think George and Stern told him about the chemicals being dumped down there. Yeah, because he goes around the corner and he's blackmailing him, and he reveals that he knows about the real Chud, about the chemical hazard urban disposal, and that he's just a government garbage man. And then Wilson pulls a gun on him, and he's like, you can't shoot a police officer. You won't get away with it. And he's like, doesn't matter. I can't let this story get out. But Bosch cold cocks him before he can shoot him.
It really didn't look like, a punch. This is...
What, you can't let me say cold cocked?
No, you can say cold cock all you want. You can say cold cuts. I don't care. It looks like it's just this horrible, no-sell punch.
Would be better if I said cold penised.
I don't
he
care
cold penised
what
him?
You're calling whatever he did. I'm not making fun of you saying cold cock. I'm just saying it didn't look like he hit him. That's all I'm saying.
You're saying the punch wasn't coordinated very well to make it look real?
Yes.
All right, I'll give you that. Where was I? Oh, so Stern and George, they're at the manhole cover. But the sewer's filling up with gas. Bosch runs over to the van, and then we have Lauren coming in. She's driving the cruiser, and she arrives at the scene. And she tells them to stop the gas because her husband is down there. And that's where I get back to, how the hell does she know that? I'm like, did he tell her that him and Murphy were going down there? As far as I know, they were just meeting up to discuss about the pictures and about this story. The cop tells Lauren that some NRC guy, Wilson, is in charge here. And he points to him, but he's running away. George and Stern, so they hear the Chuds. Like I said, I don't think they see the Chuds. I don't have it in my notes. I think they just hear the Chuds. Bosch moves the truck, and he's getting ready to try to crowbar open the manhole cover, but he gets shot by Wilson. Wilson, he gets the keys, and he just kind of pushes Bosch out of the way. I'm like, that's awful nice of him pushing him out of the way when he didn't have to, so he doesn't get run over by this truck. I don't know why he pushed him out of the way, but he just did. I guess it's for the ending. He gets in the truck and he pulls forward. So George and Stern, they're able to get the manhole cover off without him. Thank God this movie's almost over. Lauren shows up on the scene and she warns them that Wilson is trying to run them over because he pulled forward, turned around, and now he's coming straight at them. So they jump out of the way in the nick of time. So Stern, He looks over, he sees that Bosch has been shot, so he grabs his gun and he starts shooting at Wilson a couple of times in the truck as he approaches, and then he manages to, like on the third or fourth shot or something, manages to go through the windshield and hit him right in the chest, and he just slumps over. And so the truck slowly comes to a stop and it rolls up to the manhole cover and just kind of gently goes in, and boom, it explodes from all the fucking gas going up. And there's the callback back to Wilson's pothole comment, potentially causing an explosion. George and Lauren embrace, and then Bosch, you hear him muttering out, nice shot, Shepard. And it's like, oh, he's still alive. But then I think he just kind of dies. Does he die here? I feel like, he like gets out that nice shot part and then just, then dies.
I don't know. Maybe he just passed out of...
Oh, so are there no more CHUDs? Were they able to successfully seal them all off and either explode them or gas them?
Did you notice the goof here?
No, what's the goof?
So he took the gun out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he shot the NRC guy, or whatever, the fake NRC guy. And
I
then
think he is with the NRC.
Yeah, and then he goes back to Bosch. When they show the shot where he goes back to Bosch to see if he's okay, Bosch has the gun back under his belt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. I didn't notice that. That's easy to miss, but good old continuity, people. Continuity must be harder than it looks. So anyways, we get this awesome 80s synth music to close with, though. And that's when I was watching on Prime, like, it started to stutter during the credits. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this Amazon Prime viewing of C.H.U.D haunted? I think that's scarier than the fucking C.H.U.Ds were. So anyways, that's C.H.U.D.
What? Really?
Yeah, finally.
It ended?
I finally got through it all.
Oh.
To compare, I had 6 pages of notes for Intruder. I had 9 pages of dialogue, non-action filled C.H.U.D notes. I'm sure you can tell I wasn't super enthused with C.H.U.D. And before I dive into that, I think I'll finally give a brief breakdown of how the pancake system works. So we'll start at the top. So obviously 5 pancakes is, I don't want to say it's quite a masterpiece because I gave Intruder a masterpiece, but it's creme de la creme for either its type of film, like obviously Intruder for a slasher film, it's very excellent. Yeah, your 5s are your masterpieces or your creme de la creme, cream of the crop there. Your 4s, and in between is somewhere in between, of course. You've got half a pancake. But a 4, anything 4 or higher is like a classic. It's highly recommended viewing. When you get down to a 3 is a decent film. It has its merits, but there's just a little bit holding it back from being great. It's still recommended. So I'm going to mention 2.5 rather than skip the 2 here, because I feel like at 2.5, 2.5 is like the bare bones minimum of worth watching if you're not super into horror, if you're a neophyte. Like, if you really want to just stick to what's good, 2.5 is like the cutoff. Like, 2.5 is like a little not quite strong as a 3, but I feel like 2.5 is the cutoff of, like, if you enjoy horror, it's worth watching. So 2, now you're starting to get into, like, there might be a good concept or maybe a good few moments, but for the most part, the story just drags or something else is holding it back. It might not even be bad acting, because bad acting, it could make it a so bad it's good film, but acting could be holding it back and it doesn't make it so bad it's good. It's just detracting from the film. Or maybe some of the effects are cheesy. It's a concept that's just not all there, but might show a little bit of promise. When you get to a 1, now you're getting into some of like the straight trash. There might be an iota of a good idea there, or maybe 1 or 2 decent scenes that make it memorable, or a performance from an actor, but that might just be about it. And then if you get to 0, you just have a complete and utter disaster that I find completely unentertaining in any regards.
Like the movie 300.
No. I have a hot take on a movie that I give 0 pancakes. I think you know it. In fact, you might say that this movie was referenced in said movie. To give you a hint, we won't talk about that today. Lord help us if we ever get to that movie. Wanted to explain that before I give C.H.U.D what I thought of it. Overall, I feel like this is a mediocre monster flick that lacks monsters. I mean, it focuses way too much on developing this story behind why the C.H.U.Ds exist. And it's not a terrible or dull story. It's slow to get to the point of what you came here to see, which is the C.H.U.Ds killing people. Which is also a letdown because, like I said, they're not even really featured in the climax other than the sounds of them chasing George and Stern through the sewers. There's the part with Lauren, but that's very short-lived. The C.H.U.D close-ups and features of them are decent, like in the Lauren scene. The gore when used is very reasonable and well done, but I said they clearly didn't have the budget to film multiple detailed chuds at 1.25 million. I mean, I feel like you could have done a little bit more. I feel like if you said there was 4 of them, which there might be more because obviously more people keep turning into chuds, you could have at least had 4 decent suits and been able to show them all in one shot. And that's why you get a cop out on the diner scene. I mean, obviously sometimes you cut away because the imagination can be scarier than what is actually shown on film. Your imagination fills in the blanks, but I feel like it's done more out of cheapness. Like you couldn't show 4 chuds breaking in there at least initially attacking them, even if you didn't want to show them like tearing John Goodman and company limb from limb.
When looking at IMDb, they list 4 people playing
Chuds?
Chud. Yeah.
Okay. So the score, which is actually pretty good, is almost non-existent though. But it's very nostalgic of 80s synth, which I did like. The acting is solid. It's not anything great. Like I enjoyed Bosch's performance, but his performance does feel like stiff.
I feel like
and wooden. Like
the best was Stern, and then it was Bosch.
Right, except for Stern, who really steals the film. Hurd does a good job too. I feel like his girlfriend does a good job, played by Kim Grist, was it? Or Grist? She does a good job. Like I said, the acting's solid, but it's nothing special except for Stern, who really steals the film. And he probably swings this film from a very forgettable monster flick that probably nobody would really be talking about to worth an occasional horror viewing. Even if it's probably more for hardcore fans or completionists of the genre. Still, it has been referenced numerous times in pop culture. I've obviously made the Simpsons joke a million times in this episode. I know it was referenced in an episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force one time too. There's a few other instances have been noted. If you want to chime in.
Cult status. In 2011, on April 1st, April Fool's Day as a joke, the Criterion Collection announced on their website that they were going to add Chud into their movies. And Criterion Collection, if you guys don't know, is known for, good movies, like
right,
good quality,
So as I said, it probably only deserves 2.5, which makes it just on the cusp of a watchable film. But I'll kick an extra half a stack of pancakes for the decent body gore and because of Stern's ridiculous one-liners and performance. I've definitely seen worse made films. This is at least a competently made film, even with all the cutting back and forth. I don't think it detracts from the film, but I feel like they could have stuck with one scene, finished it, and then cut to another, and people would still understand what was happening. Like I said, I've definitely seen worse films. That's for sure. I think I added one to the list of Tubi films. I think if you remember that Mountain Motel Massacre or whatever, I tried starting watching that one. It was duller than this.
So you're giving it how many pancakes?
So my verdict, it's probably only worth 2.5, but I kicked it up another half for Stern's performance, and the guts from Hugo looked good, the severed heads looked good, the wound looked good, so I gave it an extra half pancake for that, so a total of 3 pancakes.
All right.
Not quite a classic. The idea is there. It just needed to be a little bit better, but it's still entertaining. And like I said, it's better than a lot of the stuff I've seen. What's your...
So, well, to contrast that, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 29%.
I can understand that.
IMDb gave it a 5.6 out of 10.
Right, which when you get into the 5s and 6s on IMDb, there's a lot of actually decent viewing in that range.
I'm just giving just some stats real quick. It cost 1.25 million, like I said, to make. It grossed total domestically and internationally of $4.7 million. It was actually, when it was released, it was in limited theaters on its theatrical release. So when it came out for that week, it was ranked 13th out of the other movies. Where I saw I was alluding to the score, I found the article. It is Rolling Stones. They did this in October of 2019. The 35 greatest horror soundtracks, modern masters / gatekeepers choose. So they got a lot of like synth-oriented people on the panel. Mike Patton's on there from Faith No More. Steve Moore he's a composer of the movie Zombie. But so they did 35.
Say Zombie?
Yeah, Zombie with an I. Yeah. Anyways,
who? Steve Moore?
Yeah.
I don't think he did the music for Zombie.
Well, that's what it says. Zombie, composer, the guest. I don't know. Anyways.
Unless he assisted, I believe Fabio Frizzi.
They got some people. They got the Michael Stein from Stranger Things, stuff like that. But anyways, it got 33 out of 35 for the best soundtrack. Number 1 was Halloween, of course. John Carpenter. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So initially coming in, I was thinking I was going to give this movie 3 cannolis out of 5. But then as we're talking here and we're realizing, wow, this movie is all dialogue. I mean, I don't hate it, but there's not a lot of action.
Maybe CHUD stands for constant, humorous, unending dialogue.
Chronically horny, ugly devils. I don't know. But just listening
there is
to
some humorous dialogue.
When you watch it, it doesn't necessarily drag, but now just taking a look at how the dialogue ratio to the action ratio, I'm going to have to drop it down. I'm going to give it 2.5 cannolis out of 5.
That's fair. I gave it a little bit because I did enjoy the Buck Dancer's Choice.
I mean, I love Daniel Stern. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like him in all kinds of movies.
All right. Talk me into it. Or talk me up or down. Or talk me down. Do you think I should cut it a half a pancake?
I mean, it's your...
Because it is dull.
I mean, it's just, there's not action. The CHUDs, okay looking. They don't...
Yeah.
I don't understand where the budget
went
into this movie. Maybe filming
I've seen movies with worse acting that are better.
The flamethrowers it probably went into? I don't know.
I mean,
now that you mention it, I don't hate it. But I don't.
Right,
I don't like absolute. I mean,
I think it definitely, because of the cult following it's got and the references, people like to reference it a lot.
Let me
I actually think the sequel is probably a better film,
which the Scary Perry has not seen. But let me ask you a question: would you recommend this to somebody to watch?
No.
Neither would I. Like for a horror movie, I'm
like,
not recommending.
Like, I feel like it's probably part of like the horror pilgrimage, if you will. Like, you have to watch CHUD at least once, which would be like the 2.5. I feel like 3 pancakes, you would recommend it. That's where you recommend. Like, 4s are classics. 4s and ups are definitely classics. Highly recommend. I feel like a 3 is a good recommend. There's a good idea there. It's decently executed, but it's just not quite all the way there.
Like,
so I mean, I feel like I am going to revoke that half a pancake.
Okay.
I feel like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to give it, you talked me down. I'm going to give it 2.5 pancakes. I really wanted to give it that extra 3 just because it is CHUD. It's got that name recognition, but
I've seen reviews too.
It can't quite merit it. It's got like 4.5 stars on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, where they
I feel like that's just the cult following.
It is a monster movie, right? It is a monster movie. But they compare it to, they say other fellow monster movies are Nightmare on Elm Street and Jason.
Well, I mean, yes, I guess they technically become almost like monsters, but no, not comparative. I mean, a better comparative and a better movie would be, as I've referenced multiple times, Humanoids from the Deep is a better monster movie with similar concept, bunch of monsters attacking people.
I'm sure there's probably a plethora of them, but you know.
Right. I'm trying to think of a few more off the top of my head. I believe the name of it is The Being, is a better monster movie. It's like an alien or something from, I think it's an alien, but one monster, and the monster looks kind of hokey, like you can tell when it's zoomed up, they like did like the upper part because you can clearly tell it doesn't like move. But again, probably way less of a budget than this movie, and they have only one monster smartly. You know, they put all their eggs in one basket and they make that one monster look good. And it looks good, but you can clearly tell like the close-up is just like this shoulder only type like head thing. They do zoom out when they show it in The Being. We'll get to that one sometime, but
you know what these things the CHUDs kind of remind me of?
What's that?
Like, without wings, they look like not as well done, but they look like the parademons in Justice League movie.
Maybe. I'll have to take your word for that. But, so, any other closing thoughts on CHUD?
Well, it has a cult following, and it's something that you need to see once, in my opinion. CHUD is just okay.
And my closing remarks on it are, of course you're going to have a bad time if all you do is focus on the pimps and the CHUDs. And with that, I think that does it for this episode. I'm the Mad Pancaker as always, still waiting on my pancakes, Delores.
Delores, pancakes, please.
And join us next time as we review The Night He Came Home. Until next time, check please.
Delores, where you at?
International House of Horror.